And our job is to support you and help you and put these good systems in place and let you do your thing. And if you do something wrong or whatever, we're going to have a conversation about it. But guess what? Everybody does some things wrong, and we want you to get better.
Hey everyone, it's John Adams. Welcome back to the Process Lab podcast, the show where we tackle common business problems and provide insight for operational excellence. Today on the show, we will be discussing how to scale a business, and we are very fortunate to be joined by John Burdett. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. So glad to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and we'll launch right into it.
Yeah, I've been a software entrepreneur my whole career and helped building multiple software related businesses, and both on the services side and the product side. So I've done a little bit of everything. I've actually started a nonprofit as well. So what I love to do is build businesses, and I often say I'm one of those weirdos that love processes and systems and stuff like that. But maybe I'm part of a family here with your podcast audience and stuff like that. So we're fellow brethren of people who love systems and consistency and being able to work on your business instead of in your business. And I like to tell everybody that I only know what to do because I've made all the mistakes possible. So going through and building multiple businesses and doing things the hard way and understanding what works and doesn't work, decided to start my current company, Fast Slow Motion, about 10 and a half years ago to help other people build and scale their business the right way. And more importantly, build a business that you love, because we spend most of our life working. And I want to help people build a business they love, where they get to enjoy what they do. And as you know so well, putting good systems and processes in place is mission critical to making that happen.
And you have a framework that you work from, and maybe you could expand on that.
Yeah. So our team has developed what we call the scalable business framework, and it starts once you have a foundation. So let's start at a foundation level first, and then we'll actually talk about the framework, because I think the foundation is mission critical, because if you don't have a good foundation of your company, you're not going to be able to scale it. So we have a foundation built on what we call the 3 Ps. It's a purpose, people, and profit. And so we think every business needs to have those 3 core pillars, and they can name them and make them their own. But every business needs to have a purpose, something bigger than themselves they're trying to accomplish. Ours is impact. We want to be a blessing to business leaders as they scale and grow their business. We also think people.
Let's go through each. And why do you need that? There are many companies that think our purpose is to make money.
Right. Yeah. And I've been one of those. And that's a great question. You kind of fall into that trap. Is the reality is business is hard. There's going to be tough days. And if you're not doing something kind of bigger than yourself, you have a bigger why, a bigger purpose, you're going to eventually stop, or you're going to get trapped in your business. And both are actually, it's better to fail than to be trapped in your business, as I've learned. You create something that's successful. You got people working for you. You got families that you're supporting. You got clients you're supporting. But if you don't like what you're doing and you're meandering into that, we're all going to end up somewhere. Very, very few of us end up there on purpose. So you want to have a mission that, like, this is my North Star. This is where I'm heading, and it'll get me through the rough days, and then keep me focused and aligned, so I say yes to the right things and no to the wrong things.
And do you find that everyone has to buy into the same mission, or?
Absolutely. And that's mission critical, that you're very clear. You create your own vocabulary. You talk about it all the time, because you recruit to that, you retain to that, and you build up your people from that. So that becomes core to your culture, because as your company scales and grows, you can't control your culture. You can control your culture when it's one person. You can't even control your culture when it's 10 people, much less 120, 200,000 people. And so it's really important you build that into your DNA, so that your people are using this language and they have a common North Star to keep the culture intact, because it's really hard to keep a culture intact as you scale.
Okay, so that's the first P.
That's the first P. The second P is people. We think people are the most important thing in life, and business is no different. And people that lose that focus end up honestly kind of wasting their life. They may build a successful business, but if they don't build relationships and have we're relational beings. If we don't have meaningful relationships with people, and then build a company where people love to work and do what they do and enjoy the journey. You don't work to retire. You get to enjoy work as you're doing it, and it's not some destination. People don't have, shouldn't have destination disease. So we think you should have a core principle around how are you going to attract people? What makes you unique so that you can attract the right people, and then also say no to the wrong people, because having the wrong people on the bus is not good for anybody, not good for them, and not good for you. And so in our world, our core people principle is around flexibility. And I built that in day one. We were remote first day one. We're 120 full-time people now across 30 states. So we've scaled that up. But I wanted to build an environment where people could be around their families. They could go on dates if they were dating. They didn't have to miss their t-ball games or dance recitals for their kids. They could have meaningful relationships with people, and not have to relocate to somewhere else or commute 2 hours a day or anything like that. And so that flexibility principle is really important to us, because I wanted to create an environment that I enjoy as an entrepreneur for other people to enjoy as well.
Another little detour. Are there any things that you do or I should ask first, have some of those people been onboarded remotely and stayed remote?
So our entire team is remote, and everybody is onboarded remotely, and hopefully the majority of them stay. And we have a very talk about process. We have a very rigorous, intentional recruiting and interviewing process. That's top of the funnel. Got a lot of people coming in. Very few people make it through it, because we're trying to make sure that fits right. Because remote work's not for everybody. Our core principles and our purpose is not for everybody. We're a consulting company. Consulting is definitely not for everybody. So we're trying to weed people out to make sure, hey, this may look all great. Here's how it really is. And if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to enjoy it. And but yeah, we do everything remote. We have no physical offices at Fast Slow Motion.
Do you have any problem getting that alignment or that sense of community or that sense of team with it?
So we're very intentional. So we built all of our processes and systems around that core principle. And that's why these foundations are so important. It tells us who we are, and we know what to build from there. So we're building our processes with intentionality. There's a why behind every process we have. And so we're not just doing process for the sake of process. We're not just creating bureaucracy and red tape to do things. There's a reason why we're doing things. And so we do a lot of intentional things to keep that culture. Like we push the macro down to the micro, meaning we have small teams inside that 120 full-time people. We have teams of 5 and 10 people that are serving our clients and working together and on video calls all day long together. And they're spending more time together than they would if they were in cubes at an office. And, we also do offsites where we fly everybody in. And it's mostly a social event where we can spend time together, because we need that face-to-face time. That face-to-face time is important. So we do a lot of it, and we do a bunch of other things, but those are a couple examples of how we bake in process to fulfill that need of connection that is so important, that is harder to do. So you just got to be intentional about it.
Yeah, I love that word. And so the final P,
the final thing is profit. And we're unashamed at Fast Slow Motion, and I think any business should be, is you must generate a profit. If you don't generate a profit, you will go out of business. And I mean like a real cash profit, not an accounting profit where you're actually seeing the cash. And so you should be unapologetic about that, because once again, if you're not generating a profit, you're not going to be around long term to fulfill your mission, to take care of your people, and you're not really creating a real business. And so our profit 3P we call is winning. So we like to win, and scoreboard matters. And, you want to win at the right game and win at the right scoreboard. But we define that very clearly for our team that, our client scoreboard matters, but our scoreboard matters too. And so we only want to work with those clients that appreciate us, are willing to pay us well, and what what the value that we provide, and appreciate us, and really value the things that we're doing for them, and want to be helped and stuff like that, which allows us the freedom to make wise decisions. We don't have to take on another client if we don't want to. We get to say yes to the right things and no to the wrong things. And so that profit principle, I think, is very important to be very explicit about it, because you cannot build a real business without profit. Otherwise, you're just you have a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with having a hobby, but don't pretend you're building a business when you're not creating something of value that's creating profit along the way.
And have you fired clients before?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do our best to put process in place to stop them from getting in. That's the best. Fire prevention is much better than firefighting there. But obviously, nobody's perfect. You have the same problem with hiring, right? You let some people in that weren't supposed to be there. Same thing with clients, and we try to do it very empathetically and say, hey, look, we're not a good fit for you. There's somebody better out there. We do all we can to go above and beyond to serve them and help them get transitioned to somebody else. But we've served about 1,000 clients and had to let probably 15 or so go because it wasn't a good fit, and wasn't good for them, wasn't good for us, and there's somebody out there better to serve them.
Excellent. So now you have the foundation. We have the foundation of the 3 Ps. And so now what are we building on top of that?
Yeah. So now you have the foundation to start building your processes across your entire organization. And as you know, you should be very process driven across all functions of your organization so that you are able to work on your business than working in your business. And a lot of business leaders really never rise above that level. Unfortunately. And so they're constantly putting out fires, reacting to things and stuff like that. So we developed what we call the scalable business framework, which is kind of a framework, a vocabulary to kind of talk about these things so that you can create a flywheel so your business starts running itself and you're able to kind of continue to build on it as you iterate, because it's very much an iteration and not a one time and you're done thing. It's a process, not a project, right? You're always improving these things. So we go ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the 3 things in the scalable business framework is, first and foremost, you have to just establish processes. You have to be systematic and intentional and consistent. And, a process is nothing more than a series of steps to accomplish a goal. And so you want to start small, don't boil the ocean, and just get that going. And we kind of make the analogy of, if you're using the human body, that's the musculoskeletal system. That's your muscles and how everything works together. It's that you're putting those systems in place so that, you can raise your arm and you can do these things, and you can do it no matter who's doing it. It's not relying on a person. It's okay. I know here's the steps we go through to hire somebody. And we don't skip those steps. And as we're going along the way, we're capturing data and those kinds of things.
What do you say to people that feel like by turning what they're doing into a process, you're taking away from their the character of their work or their ability to make unique contributions or the like?
Yeah, what we say is, like, we never want robots. We love the uniqueness of our team. If you look at our roles, very different personality profiles, they all have the same in common values and things like that, but some are introverts, some are extroverts, some are all those kinds of things. I love that. It's one of the coolest things about our team is just their uniqueness. So we try to celebrate their uniqueness because they were made for a reason, and that uniqueness is important. What process does is allows things to be consistent and allows them to focus on their unique abilities to serve those customers and to do their jobs. And they're not caught up in the rote minutia of the day to day, and they're able to move faster. A fish won't live outside of water. And so these rules actually create guardrails and freedom to do what they were designed to do. And so that's kind of how we look at it. And it allows us to move faster and instead of slower, because we have all these processes defined, and it also stops us from running red lights. And it also lets us know why we're winning and why we're losing, so that we can make course corrections along the way. So that those processes are enablers for people. They're not replacements for people, in my opinion.
And how do you document, or how do you gather a process or establish a process? And once you do, how do you make it operational?
Yeah. So if you're an entrepreneur listening, or you're early stage company, you need to be the first to do everything. And you need to figure it out yourself and start as you're doing sales, you're doing marketing. If you're doing hiring, you're doing delivery, you're doing product development, whatever you're doing, start documenting the steps that you're following, and then start following those things yourself. And I would say start simple, right? Don't try to boil the ocean. You're not going to get it perfect. The right process is the one that works. There is no perfect process. And so don't beat yourself up. And then what I did, and what I highly recommend, and what we do today, is we're really big on videos. So there's nothing more boring than documenting a process. And so instead of writing everything out and stuff like that, you can transcribe it, but record a 2-minute video. Okay, this is how we send out an invoice. This is how we collect payment. This is how we, interview candidates. This is how we go through our offer letter. This is how we whatever. And you have a collection of videos, and then we use like Google Sites, which is we call it our wiki, but there's SharePoint. There's a lot of free tools out there, or tools you may already own, where you can just organize all this content. It's all searchable, and so everybody knows the playbook to follow when we're doing stuff. And we also use like learning management systems and things like that for our onboarding and ongoing training. We can pop those same videos inside of there. And when those processes change, we just simply re-record that 2-minute video to update it. And you didn't have to go through, all this bureaucratic change and rewrite everything and stuff like that. So I just recommend, especially for earlier stage companies or people kind of getting started, is, start recording videos for everything that you do. And then once you bring on a person to fulfill that role and responsibility, you have a playbook for them to start following. And then you just continue to iterate and improve upon that.
And then so now the process, how do you had mentioned one of the benefits being that you can then tell like what impact that had, if that's why you succeeded or why you had a problem. So how does that video translate then to having that operational vision?
Yeah. And so we're a huge, and this is what we do for businesses. And this is what we've done for our own businesses and previous businesses I've helped start, is we believe in these platform tools like Salesforce and HubSpot to implement these processes. And the reason for that is you can run it across your entire business. All your data is in one place. You don't have to buy a bunch of technology platforms. You don't have to do data integrations. The right hand knows what the left hand's doing. So when you sell something, all that information, all that process, all that stuff is seen by the people doing the work to deliver whatever you just sold. And so we build out those processes and systems inside either Salesforce or HubSpot. And we only do those two because we believe those are the only two really scalable business systems that you won't outgrow, and you're able to do everything you want to do. The answer is not no. It may be you don't have enough money to do it yet. And maybe you're not ready for it, but when the timing's right, you're able to do it. And like we run our entire business on the Salesforce platform. And what I mean by that, I mean every single thing from recruiting and HR to marketing to sales to time tracking to project management, compensation, everything in one place. So I have a complete 360 view of my entire business. And we're all, no matter what job you have at our company, you're looking at the same point of truth, no matter where you are. And then we just iterate on those processes. So when we make mistakes, we'll put this validation rule in place. These kinds of things in place to prevent that from ever happening again. And it helps us to constantly get better, which, as we talked about before, enables those employees to really focus on what they're good at, which is serving those customers or talking to those prospects or helping their teammates, whatever their role may be.
Now, I know we still have, I think, 2 more for the framework, but what you obviously did it the right way, and I'm sure you counsel your clients to do the standardization and know their process before. But I assume that you come into a lot of consulting engagements where a client does want a CRM and they haven't done all of that. They don't
Yeah.
have scalable processes. So what's your general flow for that, and
Yeah.
how do you tell if the company has the appetite for it?
Yeah, there's got to be, the patient needs to know they're sick to go see the doctor, and they want to get help, right? They've realized that, hey, they can't help themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's why we created this business, because a lot of people aren't gifted in doing the things that we do, and we realize where our gifts aren't and things like that. So you have to recognize there's a problem and there's a pain, and you want to get better. If the leaders of the business don't want to change and improve and stop doing the old things they're doing to get better and build a scalable business, it'll never work. So adoption is always key. So a lot of the stuff we're doing in our pre-sales process is qualifying buyer behavior to say, okay, they really get it. They value this. They're not looking to take shortcuts because there aren't any, and they're looking to do it the right way. So that's first and foremost there. But it is the most common scenario. Very few people kind of built their business like I did. And the only reason I did is because I built it the wrong ways previously. It wasn't like I was some, wise person. It was just I'd done it the wrong ways too many times. Is what we say is you want to implement small and think big. So you want to think big picture about all the problems you're going to solve and how this is going to revolutionize your business and change your life. And it will do all those things, but you need to think small around, okay, how do I get started? What's some of my bigger pain points that I can get resolved with some low hanging fruit and start getting some momentum going? And so we always usually start with a 4 or 6 week engagement to get some value and get them up and running. And they start seeing the value of that. And that starts creating a little more margin, because that chaos is now gone, which frees them up to focus on the next thing. And then you iterate over time. And once again, you're never done, but your water level's going up. You're getting better and better as you go along. And at the same time, you're buying yourself more margin, and you're able to think more, work more on your business than in your business. And suddenly you're starting to be proactive instead of reactive. You're starting to drive your business looking through the windshield instead of the rear view mirror. And you start getting your life back, honestly, right? I mean, you're not working 80-hour weeks. You're working a normal work week, and you're able to do all the things you wanted to do when you originally started the business. And so that's our mission. It kind of goes back to our purpose, but that's really what happens for the businesses that are willing to put in the work and do it the right way. And have the discipline to stick to it.
I like the implement small and think big a lot. A lot of times when I've been faced with a scenario, a client would say, they basically want to run a triathlon, and they're sitting on the couch eating potato chips.
That's right. No training. Yeah, you're going to die.
And they think that by hiring me or getting a system, it's going to do that work. So they equate the result with buying the system as opposed to the work that they're going to need to make it happen. So if you just maybe start walking around the block a few times before we go to triathlon. So
yeah, we try to we say there's 2 ways to do things, the right way and again. And so if you're not willing to do things the right way, you're just going to end up doing it again, and it's going to cost way more and be way more painful. And so there really aren't any shortcuts. Our job is to guide you and help you and make it easy. But if you want to, I love that. I use the workout example all the time. If you want to get in shape, there's nothing easy about it. You gotta say no to the potato chips. You got to get out there and exercise. And the first 3 to 4 weeks are pretty hellish. You're sore, hungry, angry, not fun to be around. But what happens is you start getting in shape a little bit, and you're like, oh, this feels good. And you want more of it. And the same thing really applies to your business. So
that was a long detour from the first part of the framework. Now on to the second part.
Yeah, the second one is automation. So once you have good processes in place and they're working and you're measuring things and you're getting some progress on it, you can then start automating things. So this is like the automatic nervous system of your body. You don't have to think about breathing, right? It just happens. And there are many things in your business that you can automate. Now, order of operation is very important. You don't want to automate bad processes because that exacerbates the whole thing. So you want to make sure your processes are in place and working, but then you can start automating the things that are rote, mundane, and allows you to enable your employees to do more. So for instance, creating automatic alerts when, like, maybe you're working on a sales deal and you haven't talked to the person in 3 days. Maybe in your business, you want to create a task to automatically remind the salesperson to do that. Or, when you win a deal, it automatically creates a project in your system and then creates all the onboarding tasks. So you don't have to remember what those are. Automatically emails the customer to say thank you, automatically sends out invoice and invoice reminders, or, all these types of things that you can start automating when you know that this is a really, this is a good enough process. And it's never perfect, right? It's a good enough process. And that really kind of puts things on steroids so that the business is really focusing on the uniqueness of what they provide to the customer, and allows you to really do more with less, and allows you to really value the uniqueness and special skills of your team, so that you can scale your business up and do it consistently with consistent results.
And how do you make that line between good enough versus we could make it, we could optimize this even further?
Yeah. You have to avoid perfectionism. And a lot of times as operations people, I'm speaking as an engineer and operations person, we like perfection. But you have to avoid it at all costs. You get to the good enough where it's like, okay, this process is solid enough where, okay, I'm looking at it, it's producing the outcomes that I want. And more, I think you should strive less for perfection and more for consistency, because you can change things that are consistent. I'd rather be consistently wrong than all over the place. And so, strive for more just being consistent. And so a lot of times early on, you're just trying different things, but just do it in a consistent manner over time, and you'll get consistent outcomes. And if you're not getting the outcomes that you want, you can tweak the process. And then you start automating that in on the things that, I'm a big fan of alerts and reminders and things like that, so that I don't have to worry about, oh, did we send that invoice? We have alerts like, a project is up and going and we haven't sent any invoices yet, which should never happen. But in the rare case that it did, I've got an alert. So I never have to worry about, like, did we send that invoice or not? Because there's an alert that will fire if we don't send one. So you can start putting in all these safety nets in place to really give you peace of mind as you scale your business. And this is a really good tool as a leader, as you're starting to delegate to other people. So you're not only giving them that nice process documentation with those videos, you're not only giving them a system where these processes are, captured, and you're starting to automate those things, but then you're putting some safety nets in place to make sure they're really doing what they're doing, so you don't have to micromanage them.
Yeah. And you're setting them up for something that you could measure, like you can measure their performance much easier because it's not all variable. So
that's right. And, you're also reminding your employees. People ask me all the time, I was like, well, are you ever worried your employees aren't, you got 120 remote employees, how do you know they're working or whatever? Like, see everything in the system. And I've got all these alerts set up in case they're doing things wrong. And when they do, I get alerted, and then I have a conversation with them, or their leader has a conversation with them. And so they know you're always on top of things, and not in a like an overbearing way, but like, this is to help you to make sure you don't make mistakes, because nobody wants to make mistakes. And it really allows you to give your employees a lot of freedom and flexibility without, like, at the end of the day, email me all the stuff that you did, kind of thing. You don't have to do any of those kinds of things.
Well, I had a lot of clients that had a big problem with going remote because they were trying to manage their employees by just seeing how often they were logged into the system.
Yeah.
And that's what they were basically measuring. And I responded with your word that it's about intention. Like, how are you measuring your employees? Like, what do you actually want them to be doing? Being tied to their computer or producing some sort of output? So
yeah, we hate micromanagement in our company. That goes around to that flexibility principle. I tell everybody, that we're going through the hiring process is like, I work for you, you don't work for me. And if that ever gets backwards, we're going to fire you, because I'm not here to babysit. We hire adults, and our job is to support you and help you and put these good systems in place and let you do your thing. And if you do something wrong or whatever, we're going to have a conversation about it. But guess what? Everybody does some things wrong and we want you to get better, but we're not going to avoid those conversations. And so it creates a healthy culture of good, healthy conflict, because healthy conflict is really good. And everybody's just trying to help each other. And then guess what? They start doing that with other people. And it becomes ingrained in your culture, which creates a really nice work environment where everybody knows the standard is the standard. We're not lowering the excellence bar for anybody, but we're all trying to get people to that standard. And then when people don't adhere to that standard, it's very clear as to what they missed. And that clarity is kindness. It helps them understand where they need to go and what they need to do.
Yeah. Show me a company with a bad culture and I'll show you a company with bad processes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And we're kind of talking on a lot of these different topics, but as a leader and process, you control the inputs, not the outcomes, right? I don't know how to control the outcomes other than doing the right inputs, right? I don't know how to get healthy without eating healthy and getting in shape. So you have to focus on the inputs and getting the inputs right. And then you measure the outcomes to see if you're winning or losing. And then you tweak the inputs and you iterate on that till you get more consistent outcomes of what you want. And I think a lot of times we kind of immediately go to, well, I want more revenue. I want more profit. I want more happy customers or whatever. Well, what are the building blocks to get to that? Focus on those things, codify those with good processes, automation. And then the final thing is visibility. The third thing of the scalable business framework is visibility. I can then see what's going on in my business, so I know why I'm winning and losing. And so that's all about capturing data as you're doing these processes and making that data capture consistent. So some fields are required. You have validation rules. You have good things in good formats so you can report on it and, understand, track, why are you losing deals? Why are you winning deals? Why did the client leave? Why did that employee leave? Whatever it may be. And then you make that data available to the right people in your organization. So you want to set up permissions, because not all data should be available to all people. You want to, some things are sensitive and need to be sensitive. But you obviously want to empower your team members to have access to this. So they have their own scoreboards. They know what their inputs and what they're responsible for and how that drives to the right outcomes for the entire company. And then just making sure that's in a good structure so that you can then report on it. And then it's really a flywheel, right? Okay. Now we start making process changes. We automate some more of those. We make sure we're capturing the right data and we have the right visibility. But that visibility is kind of like your sensory systems. It's your eyes, it's your ears. It allows you to know what's going on in your business. And, the vision I cast for business leaders is you can actually be proactive. You can understand what's going to happen before it happens. And you're able to move fast while your competition moves slow. That's where our name comes from. When you put good disciplines and systems in place, the world slows down for you. It speeds up for the rest of the world. And you're able to, hit that 95-mile-an-hour fastball when it looks like a BB to everybody else. And that is the kind of the vision of where you can get to in building a scalable business around good processes and systems.
Yeah, COVID was having to go remote was a great test of all these concepts. So
yeah, 100%. I joke all the time because I did this 10 and a half years ago, and it was around, once again, being intentional about the type of business I wanted to build. And everybody's told me I was crazy. You can't build a business. You can't scale a business that's remote. COVID hit and I was like, oh, you can. Everybody does it. And then now, the world's adjusting. And the reason is not every business model is designed. It can work with remote, and you need to be very intentional about your remote policies, right? We're very intentional about we're remote, but you can't be all over the place, and your processes will align to those visions and those principles that you cast. And so it's just really important. Alignment is super important because you can't be all over the place and sending out mixed messages to your team.
Well, with that, I think we covered the 3 Ps, foundation, I guess, purpose, profit, and people.
That's right.
Purpose, people, and profit.
There we go. Yeah.
And then
they're all equally important. So you don't actually have to put them in order. You got to have all 3 and they got to stay equally yoked, because one can't get out of whack or you won't create that flywheel. It'll be a square or a triangle.
And then on that foundation, you can implement the framework. And it sounds like it's not just limited to using CRMs, or it's just purely about scaling a business.
That's exactly right.
And those three were process, automation, and visibility.
That's correct. Absolutely right. Yep.
Okay. Well, no, this is all. I love how you put everything, and you gave me a bunch of quotes. I'm going to steal, or a lot of phrases that I'm.
I borrowed everything I just said. You can borrow anything I just said.
Any final thoughts or anything else we didn't cover that you think would be helpful to the audience?
I just want to encourage people to, get started on some of these things. So if what I talked about, you're like, oh, I wish I could be that way. I wish my business ran that way or whatever. It can, and it starts with, the next step. Like, just take a next step toward getting there, and then just take the next step and the next step and the next step. And you'll wake up one day and you're like, you've got a lot of this in place, and it gets easier as you get more process oriented and scalability oriented. But you once again, stay consistent and stay disciplined. And those are things much easier said than done. But that's why it's worth it. It's hard, but it's worth it.
And your company is right there for people if they want help on this journey.
Absolutely. We'd love to help you and talk to you. Even if we can't, you don't become a client. We'd love to just talk to you. We love helping other businesses. We're very passionate about it. And if we can help in any way, check us out on the web at fastlowmotion.com. And there's plenty, we have all the social channels. We have a podcast as well. So feel free to check it out. And if you want to learn more about the Scalable Business Framework or anything that we do, glad to pass that information along.
Well, John, it was a pleasure having you on. Really loved what you had to share with everybody today. And to those in the audience, please let us know your thoughts. And if you like the content, please subscribe and share the episode with others. And with that, we'll sign off. Thanks again, John.